So welcome to the session. This session is about extending Survey123. My name is Erwin Sukianto. I'm the product engineer in the App Studio team, and I have here with me Jason Ward. He is one of the software developer in the Survey123 team and App Studio as well.
Thanks,
So,
Erwin. Thanks, Erwin.
yes. So basically, we're going to talk about how and what it takes to customize the Survey123 app. Or should I say, the 123 on how to customize the Survey123.
Ah, yes. And with that, I say 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go. So, I thought it was gonna be lame, but it's good.
We got a chuckle.
So just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today is, first, we're going to cover some scenario on the customization, and then a few things to consider before starting to customize the Survey123. And then I'm going to talk very briefly the relation between Survey123 and the App Studio. And then we're going to go into the demo. There are a lot of cool demo about the UI, and other customization in the app, the workflow, and how the app works. Before we get started, let me get a show of hand of how many people know Survey123. This is kind of obvious. Everyone. Ooh. So out of all of you, how many of you have started customization of Survey123? Okay. How many of you are thinking of doing customization of Survey123? Oh. You've come to the right session then. Yeah, so let's start. The very first scenario that most people have come and asked me and the rest of the team is branding. The user interface, or something that we call white labeling. So the current Survey123 is in light green. We use certain color depending based on our design. But if you have a certain corporate guidelines or organization branding guideline that you have to follow, or just simply wants different color, different font, you can do that in Survey123, and a lot of people have done it. For example, Red Cross, they have created an app called Red Cross View for damage assessment. There are around 40,000 name users that's using the app. If you have noticed that it's not light green anymore, now it's red, with a lot of other small design, because Red Cross has a strict corporate branding in their organization. So that's the very first thing that a lot of people wanted to do. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are also thinking about changing the color of Survey123 for your organization. So next. The other one is actually extending the Survey123 form. It's basically you want to customize some of the user input controls on the form. For example, one of our customer, South Dakota Fish and Game and Park Department. If you imagine that they're out there collecting data, and then they're meeting with the fishermen. Sometimes they get on the boat with them and then had to count the fish. So instead of, let me count how many fish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then go into the phone with a wet hand or with the gloves on and then try to put a very small number 7 into the text box. So instead, they customize it by having a minus and plus counter. So basically, 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, 4 fish, and so on. And they get the correct number. It's pretty easy, but you can do it, and that's one of the things that you can also do it as well, depending on the workflow of your organization. So next is, you can also extend the capability of the app. For example, every time you finish collecting data and you want to submit the survey, you also want to print a copy of the survey. So you can also extend that by connecting to the Bluetooth-enabled printer, for example, and then as soon as you click submit, it also prints the copy of the survey. And also another thing is, it shows in the screenshot, for example, as when you take picture and you want to annotate on the picture when this photo is taken and where this photo is taken. Also, another workflow is when about data submission. There are many of you also wanted to do, for example, when you know that the Survey123, when we submit it, it will be recorded into the feature service. But what if you want to have a duplicate record that's also stored in your database and your SQL Server? Or maybe it will want to call your own custom web service to do certain custom logic for the organization. You can do that as well by customizing the Survey123. So those are the workflow, the common workflow that we have seen in the past that a lot of people have customized the Survey123. So we just want to bring it up so that it can give you an idea. So the next slide is, I promise, the relationship between App Studio and Survey123. So Survey123 is built using App Studio for ArcGIS. There are a lot of great tools in App Studio, and there are a lot of sessions talking about each of these tools in details. But if I were to summarize it today, App Studio is a collection of tools to build native apps. You build one code that will work across the platform. That's what Survey123 use. We have one code base that you just build, and then you can distribute this app into iOS, Android, desktop, Windows, Mac OS, and so on, and Linux. And you need App Studio standard license. Also, the source code of the Survey123 app and Survey123 Connect are available in App Studio samples that we are going to show you later. Jason is going to continue from here and show how the customization is going to work.
Hi guys, if you were here in the other session, welcome back. Right before this one we were talking about what's new. So who in here would consider themselves developers? I'm just curious. Very cool. So just a little bit about me. I come from a web development background and did that for many years before I started working on the App Studio and Survey123 team. And in App Studio and Survey123 is built around QML, and QML merged with JavaScript. So I found it very easy coming from a web developer background to transition into doing QML and JavaScript development with QML. So now we're going to turn our attention to basically a practical demonstration of extending Survey123. So for this we've created a user story in which customization of Survey123 makes sense or is needed. As you can see, we have the city of Cilantro, and the city of Cilantro wants to have a custom version of Survey123 that is branded, and that's going to be used by various city departments to conduct surveys. The city also has several use cases which aren't currently available in Survey123, and they're not also in the roadmap for Survey123. So for instance, they need to have the ability, as we saw earlier in another slide, we were showing the ability to print the time and location onto some photos taken with some surveys. And with some surveys, the person taking the survey is going to be scanning QR codes or barcodes. And they need to improve the user experience of that by actually they're going to have lots of barcodes they need to scan, so they need to actually rapidly submit them. It needs to scan the barcode, submit, open up a new survey, submit. And that's actually not supported in the current version or the released version of Survey123. So these are scenarios in which customization makes sense. So for the demonstration, what we're going to do, the first half of it, the first section of it will be customizing the UI, the look and feel, the UI, the UX, icons, that type of thing. And the majority of that can be done with App Studio tools. You don't even have to have a developer experience. There is one small caveat with that. As we're customizing it, when I was coming up with this demonstration, I found one tiny little bug in the template. So I'm going to show you where the code has to be changed in that. But there's already an issue in our backlog for things to fix, so with my name attached to it. So that's the next thing I'm going to fix when I get back to the office. And then after that, we're going to talk about these other enhancements that we're going to do, which actually really requires you to go into the code base, the QML, and the JavaScript, evaluate what you need to do, figure out how you're going to do it, and then test it. And then when you're happy with it, then you're actually going to build it, and if you have the correct certificates that you need from whatever platform you're trying to submit to, you can build this in the cloud and then get the binary files and submit these to the appropriate app stores that you want to, or you just distribute it to your enterprise, however you want to do the distribution. So with that, I'm going to exit out of the slideshow. And are you guys familiar with App Studio? Anybody? Raise the hands. Okay, well, if you're not, here's App Studio, and this is how you'll access the Survey123 template if you want to customize it. Is it small? Sorry. All right, so first off, you're going to open up App Studio. I'm going to be logged in. I think it's just the best practice to go ahead and log in. You don't have to log in to download a template, but I just find it's the best practice to do. So what I want to do is click New App, and I want to go to Enterprise, and this is where we have all of our enterprise templates, and Survey123, the template is going to be there. And as we come out with new releases, this template is going to get updated. What that means, though, is if you are customizing Survey123, you're going to have to, if you want to keep it up to date, it's going to be on you if you make significant changes to the code base to actually manage the merging of that code back together with whatever's the new template and what you've actually customized. So I'm going to pick this template, and I know my client wants this to be called Cilantro Surveys. So I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to hit Create. App Studio is going to download that template for me. And now really what I need to do, the majority of the changes I need to make for customizing the UI and the UX can be accomplished in our App Settings tool. So I can click here, or I can right-click here and get to Settings. And here's my Settings tool. So I actually have all my, and you'll probably have this too, like whenever you're customizing Survey123, you'll have your assets already provided for you. Maybe a designer's created them. So I have my app icons and my thumbnails and all that stuff already ready to go. I have the content that I need to put in here. So I'm just going to walk through really fast and copy and paste that stuff in here. So for my summary, I was given this text. My description. Now your description is going to show up on the About page. And this stuff is also reflected on your online item as well. So I'm going to change my thumbnail as well. And this will be reflected on my online item in my ArcGIS online account or my portal. So I've got to go to my desktop. And I've got my thumbnail right here. And it's asking me, do I want to put it in my folder? Yes. I'm going to hit Apply. So now the majority of changes we're going to make are going to be in this Survey123 panel and in Resources panel. The main thing is the color, the city has an orange color scheme. So I need to change the color scheme to orange. I'm going to do that. Take that space out, hit Apply. And I also have a custom font family they want to use. They have a true type font that they want to use. So to do that, all I have to do is open the folder, and in my controls, I'm going to create a folder called Fonts, and I'm going to put the fonts in there. So I have them right in here. It's the Railway font. If I'm going too fast, anybody just let me know, and I'll slow down a bit too. So I copy those to my Fonts folder. And in here, I need to put the title of that font. I know it's Railway. And for my other properties, I know the city has a logo they want to use. So I go back to my folder. And in my images, I need to put my city logo. There's that. I already have the link here. Put that in here. I'm happy with that. And here with the company URL, I can actually attach a URL to that, that logo. So when you're on the About page of your customized Survey123, you can click that logo, and that will take you to your company's URL or whatever custom URL you want to have in there. I'm just going to put a dummy one in there at this moment. And I'm going to hit apply. Now we need to come to resources. I'm going to change my app icon. This is what's going to be on your device that you would double click or press on your iPhone, the icon in the screen. Okay, I'm going to fix that. Yes. I'm going to change my background color of my overlay to our color we want, our orange. Okay, we're happy with that, and I have an overlay image I'm going to use. So you can see I have a custom icon, and when the application launches, you can see I have a custom launch screen. I'm happy with those two things. Now, like I said, there was one caveat where I have to change a bit of code so that in certain areas of Survey123, your customized version of it, the headers and footers will match the orange too. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into App Studio, and here we're going to get our first look at the code. I'm going to open up Qt Creator. Is anybody here familiar with Qt Creator by any chance? QML? Cool, got one person back there, another person, very cool. So in here, I know from already doing this that the place I need to change this is in my surveyview.qml. And while we're in here, I'll go ahead and give you an introduction to the main entry points of, is this fairly visible, the file structure on the side, guys? Is it hard to see? Okay. Yeah, I can make this bigger. I don't actually, unfortunately, know how to make this bigger. Sorry, I don't know how to make that bigger, guys, right over there, but I can make the code bigger. So the main entry points for Survey123, and I'll try to explain this as we go in, is our template folder, and there's a survey app. And that's basically the entry point QML for the application. That actually controls the loading of the UI, includes the XForm, which is another component that actually builds your survey based on what's in your XLS form. So under XForms, the main file for that is xform.qml. And this is actually responsible for reading the XLS form and creating the necessary components in your form, and also reading and writing and saving data and then submitting to your online services. And the other one is portal.qml. This actually manages all your authentication to ArcGIS Online or your portal. All this, the OAuth screen, these things are all managed out of this portal, and portal is the main entry point for that. So in Survey View, you're going to have a portal object and you're going to have an XForm object as well. So really quickly, I'm going to show you where to change this bit of code so that we have consistent colors, headers, and footers throughout our app. And as I said, this will be fixed very soon in the template. So I know I need to go to Survey View. And 403. There's two properties I need to add here. So each XForm has a style, and that style inherits from the Survey123 style. And so when this XForm gets instantiated, it creates the survey views. And we just need to make sure that whatever is in the XForm, the styles match up to whatever is in our surveys styles. And so here I set the title background color and title text color of my XForm styles to app title bar background color and app title bar text color. And what that's doing is actually coming from that settings panel. It's the same exact things that you set there. That's all I have to do right there. I'm going to close this back. We're going to come back to the code in just a bit. But with that in mind, oh sorry, I just accidentally closed App Studio, as it happens sometimes. Now, if all we wanted to do, well, actually, no, sorry, I have to do one more thing. I'm going to, first off, I'm going to upload this to my ArcGIS Online account or my portal account. And then after we do that, what we're going to do is register the client ID so that our app can authenticate, use OAuth authentication to authenticate to ArcGIS Online or your portal. That's done. We're happy with that. Now we go back to settings. And now what we do to register the client ID, we don't have to go to ArcGIS Online anymore into our item and do it through that. We can actually just hit Advanced. And we have a register button here that actually sends the information off to ArcGIS Online or our portal, registers the application, and returns a client ID for us. So now we're ready to actually run our app. And what we can do, I'm going to hit Apply. We can actually go ahead and just test this right now with our app run. So I can double click this in App Studio and run it directly and test it. So now you can see we have a customized look and feel. We've got the orange we wanted. You can see our custom typefaces in there. I click here. I go to About. I see my logos here. I could click that right now and it would go to our custom URL we put in. And you can even see if I click here, I'm ready to authenticate to ArcGIS Online just with that one click to get that client ID, which is really cool. So if that's all we wanted to do, if all we needed to do was customize the look and feel of Survey123 to match what our clients wanted, we'd be ready to go. We've got our app, we've done everything we needed to do to make the look and feel, we've got the client ID set, and we've uploaded it online. And if we had all of our appropriate, as we said before, developer certificates, for each platform we wanted to target, if we needed them, we could actually right now build this and distribute it. So I'm going to show you that right now. What we would do is open Make. And with the standard license, we provide Cloud Make, which is our online tool to actually build your binary files that you want to submit to the store online. So I'm going to click Cloud Make. And for this, I'm going to just target. All I need to target for my audience is Android's ARM architecture and iOS. And then all I have to do is hit Analyze Build. Now here, if you don't have your correct certificates associated in your settings file, that type of thing, you'll probably get a few more errors here than I do. I'm very lucky that I have an Esri email account, so I just kind of get to use our developer certificate and I never have to worry about it. So if you get errors here, you can most likely continue to request your build, but your builds will probably fail. So it's good to review these results and see what that you need to take care of. So for here, I'm just going to hit Request Build. My builds are going, and while that's doing it, I'm going to turn it back to Erwin.
All right, so let me change it back to. So I'm going to play a role here, right? So now I'm the mayor of City of Cilantro. So I have the phone. This is a cooking show. While it's building, the app is ready to use. So if you can see on the very top left corner, I have a cilantro survey with a yellow with the orange icon already done. So as a mayor of City of Cilantro, I'm going to check Jason work. So I'm going to open the City of Cilantro app, and I can see this loading page already. Good job, Jason. This is orange.
Thanks,
My
Mayor
survey.
Erwin.
Oh, the fonts are like you in it. Wow.
Yes.
How long did it take you to do this?
Well, it was very quick. I had all the assets were already made for me by one of our designers, so that actually made things very quick. But it was maybe 5-10 minutes total.
Wow. I also heard you found a bug for Esri. Make sure you submit it.
I did, yes, I did, and we're going to get those developers over there to fix that.
Right. So I'm very happy with the changes already. I mean, now I have an app, Survey123 app, that is rebranded for City of Cilantro with orange color and my own font. So that's as simple as that. But for the purpose of this demo, we have two more requirements for Jason. So one of the requirements is when I take the survey, when I take the photo in the survey, I wanted to add when the photo is taken and where the photo is taken. I want to annotate to the image. So we have the survey ready. So we're going to do that, and then we want to take photo. Click on the photo. Take on the photo. Let's say we just take a photo of this session. So Jason, if I want to annotate some text into this picture, can you do it?
Yes, Mayor Irwin.
Good.
We have the entire code base of Survey123 here, so we can do whatever we want.
Okay, good. But I have one more thing for you, though. Okay. So we have this we have this requirement of scanning a barcode. So let's see how the current Survey123 does for scanning a barcode, for example. Let's close the survey. I have another survey for barcode regular scanning. So let's say I'm trying to collect barcode, right? Do you have something to scan do you have a barcode?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I have something in here, I think.
Jason has everything.
If only.
So Jason has a Costco card here. So I'm going to scan this barcode. Okay, one barcode is done. So I have to submit the survey. I'll send it later. Oh, but I want to scan another barcode. We have hundreds of barcodes that I need to send. So I have to click all of this step to go through each one of them.
Yes.
Can you make this better?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to give it back to Jason so that Jason can do all these things that I've just asked.
I never say no, right?
Jason, I'll never say no.
Come on, let me know. I didn't vote for him, though. All right, guys. One thing we meant to tell you before, too, is like we actually have the app that you can download. Android only at this time. It's a little bit harder to distribute iOS apps. We'd have to have test flight and other things going, but we'll leave this like...
if any of you are interested of
we can
downloading.
leave it up for a second, or we can put it up at the end if you want to just actually download the app on Android and you can install it.
All right.
Okay. So first off, what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the part where we annotate the image. For that, we only really... I come from a privileged position where I know the code base very well. So it didn't take me too long to figure out how to make these edits. As you learn the code base, it might take you a bit longer as you learn how the application works and that type of thing. But for the annotate image, I'm very familiar with the annotate and the draw QML file. So I knew that it would only take one file and edits in one file. And really all we're doing is that like in Survey123, you have the ability, I'm not sure if you guys were here before, but you have the ability to annotate photos. And you can click on it, and a text box will pop up, and you type whatever in, and you hit done, and that's right. So really, we just want to leverage that. That's already been built. We just have to have an event that says, take all these pieces and just circumvent the user doing it, and you just call these functions and do it yourself and then finish out. So let's go back. I want to walk through this one. I'll walk through the code base. The second one with the rapid scanning of the QR is a bit more complicated. There was a lot more files that had to be changed for that. So I'll talk about the solution, but I won't go through the code on that one. And then we're going to like demo both of these things to you at the end of that. And then I can also, I have the code for this revised survey, Survey123, in a place where we can actually distribute that too if you guys want to like take the code at some point and look at what we did. So first off, we're going to take a look at annotating this photo. So I'm going to open up, I already have it opened up here. And I apologize that this is small over here, but I promise the code will be bigger. So I know for this, the only file I really have to update is something called xform sketchcapture.qml. Where are you? There you are. And so this is actually this component actually is what functions when we annotate on an image. This actually runs, this has the canvas in it, this has all the logic for the smart panel, that type of thing, where we can access the drawing tools and that type of stuff. So this is the view that handles all that stuff, and this is where I want to actually do it. So in order to do this, really all I want to do, we have I'll show you right now just so we can have an idea of what I'm doing. In this view, this is where we actually would take a new photo or use an existing photo. there's a side menu here. Really what I want to do is just add a new menu item to this saying annotate with date and time. And when that button's clicked, whatever photo's in here, even if there isn't a photo at this time, but if it's a new photo, I'm just going to use the EXIF information that I can read from the new photo and write the date and the latitude and longitude right on the image using the tools that are in here. That way I don't really have to write much code because everything's already been built. So I'm going to walk through, not exactly step by step, but I'm going to cut and paste in the pieces that I had to do, and I'll kind of describe them as I go along. But as I was building it, this didn't go in this linear fashion. You know, you build things and you test and you change things. So first off, I needed to add a couple of properties. And one of them was I needed to save the path of the last image that was taken as a reference. And then I knew I was going to have a string for the date, and I knew I was going to have a string for the location. And I was going to call this string, when we concatenate all these things together, image stamp, and that's what's going to be imprinted on the image. And I know I'm going to need EXIF info, and EXIF info comes from App Framework, and it's responsible for getting that EXIF info and that extended data from your images if it's there. So really I have to do is add this component, and now EXIF info is there. I just pass it a path, which would be up here, and if all that data is there, then I have access to it via this object or this component. Now here's the point where I'm going to add the new menu item. So down here we have the menu panel, and that's what comes up from the side. And right now we only have the one item in here. And it uses a menu component with multiple menu items. So I'm just going to cut and paste this in there. I've already got the logic in here for the triggered event. And we'll come back to that, but I'm going to go ahead and put the other logic in, and then we'll come back here and talk about what we're doing here. The other things I need to update are what happens when the image is captured. So we have camera component capture components down here. Oh, that sounded funny. Camera capture components down here. And I know I'm going to use this for only new images. I'm not going to use this for existing images because there's no way to be sure or curate the EXIF data that might be on those things. So we only want it when it's a new image. So each of these components has an on-captured signal or event that gets fired. So when an image is successfully captured, this on-captured signal is fired, and I can react to it. So what I need to do inside of here is make a few tweaks. We've got a bit of code there already commented out. I'm going to leave that commented out. The main thing I need to make sure I don't do is I need to not delete the folder before I get the EXIF info. So I'm taking out this remove file method for now. And remember that last chosen image path that we said at the top? I'm actually assigning the path that comes in to that so I can access it later by the EXIF info. And I'm going to do the same thing for the external camera page component. Is everybody following along? Does anybody have any questions so far? If I'm going too fast, you can be like, please slow down.
There are also sessions talking about this coding in App Studio tomorrow, which we're going to put the schedule later. So,
great. So I'm going to do the same things for the external camera page component. I'm going to save the path to the last chosen image. I'm going to, and then what I need to do is create a method or a function called getImageMetadata. So I'm going to do that down here. And really what I need to do is, like, once my image gets successfully captured, I'm going to call this image metadata function, and what that's going to do is like set the file path to the EXIF info to the last chosen image path and get that data that we need from it, such as the latitude and the longitude and the time it was taken. And then really all I'm going to do is iterate through that and create strings for that I'm going to actually then add to this image timestamp that I want to print onto the image. And then at the end of that is once I've got all that data, then I'm happy to remove that file because I don't need it anymore. And so really all in here, I'm just using some ternary operators. I'm just checking if time's undefined. I know if the GPS and the longitude and latitude, I know from the documentation that they return not a number if there's nothing there. So I just test for that. And it's really just printing this data out in a string that I can use. And so what we do is, once that image is captured, then I actually have, all I'm doing now here is like, this is the button, we've taken the photo, I open the panel, and I have that button there. And really all I'm doing here is just leveraging all the stuff that's already there. Sketch Canvas is an object that has a reference to the canvas object, which has a reference to the text input, which is that text input we're seeing when we click on there. And really all I need to do is call these functions that you would call if you're doing it manually. So I set the text scale to smaller because I need it to be smaller. I actually center it here in the center. I actually take the text input and center it at the top of the photo. And then I input the text that I have from the metadata, and then I finish off, and then I hide the keyboard if I need to. And that's really all I have to do. It may seem like a lot, but it didn't take that long to do. And once you're very comfortable with the code base, you'll actually figure it out pretty fast. So actually we can go and test that right now. Now, since I'm on a MacBook, there won't be any sort of good EXIF data, but we'll show you what it does. Or were you going to show it, Mayor Irwin?
Test it first. Make sure it works.
Okay. Oh, there's me. Yikes. And we've got my button here. Oh, well, of course, something went off right there. I'm not exactly sure what my problem was. Oh, I know exactly what was going on. I promised this worked before I did this earlier. Oh, no, that should be right. Well, as always, something weird happens when you're in the middle of a demo. But I promise this works, and I'm going to let Mayor Irwin actually show the results while I go and debug.
Switch to the phone. So, assuming that Jason has finally built that, and then, so we have the survey ready to take that photo. So this is just simply an image in the question. So I click on the image. All right. Open the photo. I'll take a picture of you guys. All right. And then there is a menu that was promised by Jason. There you go. We can see the menu at the bottom of the clear sketch called Add Time and Location Stamp. So as I click on that button, and as you can see that there's a time and location in it. But what if I'm not satisfied with the color, right? So you said I can use the out-of-the-box tools?
Yep.
So the way to do that, because we are leveraging it's already there, we can change the color to, let's say, red, and then clear this, and then add the time again. And there we have the annotate time and location with red color. This is a great job, Jason.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So how about the barcode?
Oh, the barcode. Yeah. Let me. I'm going to take a couple of days off, and then we'll get to your barcode because you're my only client. So, you're back to me now.
Yeah, back to you.
For the barcode, it's a much more involved scenario, but I'm just going to describe to you really quickly, and then we're going to demonstrate how we did it. Basically, there's multiple ways on any of these things to solve these types of software problems. So for this, we decided to, actually, let me just open up, connect.
So before Jason start, the problem was in the current survey, there are so many clicks I have to do to submit multiple barcode. So now we want to make it fast.
Basically what we did is in our surveys, each one of these surveys has a .info file with it, which is basically a JSON object. So what I thought the best thing to do in this scenario was just to add an extra parameter in that the application could then react to. So in our surveys, if we have a barcode scanning, we basically add a parameter called rapid submit equals true. When the survey loads up, let's see, I'll just bring it up here. Oh, that's not it. Oh, that's not in this one either. Show it in here. So when we open our survey and we have a survey call with the rapid parameter on it, really what it does is it uses that to circumvent the initial steps and just to get you directly to the photo capture. And so that actually took about 5 files to edit to get there. So we had to like update the X form, we had to update the barcode control and that type of stuff, and then circumvent the ability, the need to actually press this check mark button. But with that, I'm going to let Mayor Irwin, I've already finished it and I've got it on the app, and I'm going to let you demonstrate it, if you would.
All right. So can I borrow your Costco's card again?
Oh, yes, of course.
So let's see if the screen is on right now. Okay. Maybe you can talk it through because I need to use both hands.
Oh, yeah. Right. Come out on the floor. So as you can see, we have, yeah, there you go, very fast. Okay, I'm going to have to train Mayor Irwin. Yes.
Let's start again, right?
Yes, go all the way back out. Say you are out in the field, or you're the person that has to use this survey, and you've got lots of barcodes that you've got to scan. That's the only thing that you have to do, and you need it to submit very fastly. We've created this survey called Rapid Submit Barcode that has that parameter in it in the JSON file, and we've set our survey code up to react to that. And what it does is like when we open the survey, basically we're saying in there, you've got rapid submit, hit the collect button already. We just circumvent the user doing it, hit the collect button. Once you get there, it's basically saying click the barcode button, which will take you, well, if you, but you'll see when you log in, it'll actually go right to submit and keep in the groove. So basically what it's doing, it's basically circumventing the need for the user to hit those buttons. Just based off of this parameter, we take the code and just react to that, and we're just leveraging everything that's already there. We're just reducing the need for the user to actually hit it because there's no need for that. Is it rapid submitting? There we go. Let's see, it should go back in. I think because you clicked out of the, there we go. So there's a scenario too, if you want to actually get out of this, once it's finished, and you go back in, see here it should actually go back into another submit, so it may be that we need to go all the way back out of the app, because there's a panel in there where you actually say, do you want to submit this, you want to stop this session, and what that does is actually like then takes you out of that so you can start using the survey in a normal manner. So there's a way that you can just, eventually you can tell the controls, I don't want to do rapid submit anymore.
That's all we have today. So.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, there's a few slides I need to cover. So there are a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about. So now that we have seen how to customize, it's very easy to change the color and a little bit more complicated to change the code, but it's not impossible. It's doable. But go back to the slide. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I think it's this one. press the wrong button. But a couple of things I want to talk about regarding customizing Survey123. So first, if you start customizing Survey123, the Survey123 releases every 6 to 8 weeks. So that's one thing to think about. So let's say you have already changed the color, have some customization. So if you want to keep it to the up-to-date version, so every 6 to 8 weeks, you have to make sure that you get the latest code base from the Survey123 and then add your source code. Okay. Second of all, we want to make sure that oh, there you go. So a couple things to consider. Survey123 release every 6 to 8 weeks. So make sure that that's one thing you have to consider. And then when we code, let's try to think about how easy it is later to add this code back into the new version. And also there is an app store review process. If you have your app out to the public in App Store, when you submit the app for review, it's going to take some time. So that's another thing to consider. And also, when you think about a customization, please ask in GeoNet first. Let's see if it is in the roadmap, if it is something that we are going to do in the future, and if you can wait 6 to 8 weeks or a 2 version or something. So if it's there, I would recommend to just wait so that you don't have to maintain the code. And also, like the sample that I provided with the South Dakota and other sample, that when you do your customization, let us know, show it to us. We probably haven't thought about it before, and then there often time we like your idea, and then we'll put it in our code base, and then you don't have to maintain it. Now it's become the product. There are a lot of use cases like that. So communicate with us through GeoNet so that we are aware of it too. So ask question. We are very active in GeoNet, so we can answer your question. So I think that's all I have. I'm going to open the floor for question in a little bit, but I just want to make sure if there are other Survey123 session, also App Studio, if you're interested on App Studio and learning more about how to develop using App Studio, and also all the links for Survey123, and we are also available in the showcase for any question. And we have time for Ishmael. So Ishmael wanted to show us the beta function that to customize in Survey123. There's a new function that we created so that it's called pull data refresh. So you don't actually have to customize the code, and you can just add the JavaScript code into the product. So.
Thank you, Erwin. So what we have seen so far is how we can take the source code of the Survey123 application and create our own. That means that you are literally creating your own application. Okay? What you are going to see next is that you can also extend the existing application with custom code. Many of you have created custom XLS forms, right? But what if you could extend the functionality of the app writing a code that runs within your own forms using JavaScript? So this is something we are experimenting with. You are looking at my phone here, and you can see that I have a form where you can set the location that comes from the phone, and then populate the address, place name, zip code, and state. You don't do that manually. So I'm going to center the map at my current location, and you will see that everything changes. What I did was simply to write a custom JavaScript function that takes the location, and then using pointing polygon queries and geocoding, populates all the attributes. Right? That makes sense? You could build JavaScript functions for many other things. I'm going to show you how this was done using Survey123 Connect. So again, I'm using the out-of-the-box application. This is my form, which you can see here. And if I open the directory of the form, you will see that here I have the XLS file and also a new folder called extensions. Within this folder, I have a JavaScript function that I put in it. Okay? And the JavaScript function is called my functions, although it could be called, I don't know, anything that you want. If you look at the XLS file, you will notice that I'm doing a pull data. So look at this line here. It says pull data. I'm going to make this bigger. You are familiar with the pull data function, correct? So what you are doing is basically extend the pull data function. Instead of pulling data from a CSV file or a geopoint, we are pulling data from a JavaScript function, right? Next parameter, my functions, that is the name of the JavaScript file from which we are going to invoke. The next parameter is the actual name of my custom JavaScript function, and then the parameters that I want to pass in. This will return a value which I can use to populate different questions in my form. Let's open the JavaScript file. So this is the name, this is my function, query feature layer by location, and as you can see, it gets a feature layer, the location object, what fields do you want, your token, and then returns basically the JSON of the feature. And it is from that JSON that I use other functions to extract the attributes and populate. This is a very powerful way to extend the pull data function in Survey123. You can use this, for example, to do complex parsing. When you are doing the barcodes, sometimes you don't just get the code. You get the name, the last name, the phone, and parsing that can be tricky with XLS form syntax. But with your own JavaScript function, you can do marvels. Say you want to calculate a complex thing like, I have a pipe of this length, this diameter, and the pressure of the water is such. So you can do calculations about that pipe using JavaScript. This currently is not in the software. We are planning to make this happen in 3.0 for you developers. However, in the early adopter program, you will be able to play with this very soon. So if you are in the early adopter program, you'll see an announcement soon kind of describing how to do this so you can play, we can get your feedback, and then release it in 3.0.
All right, now we are really done. So any question? Okay.
First of all, do you have access to all the access tags?
It depends if it's written into the image.
Pardon me?
If it's written into the image, then yes. And I would say that we have documentation on our app framework about what XF info is returned. And if it is in the image, then you can actually look and see it's pretty much everything that you would need. But I don't know the full extent of all XF info.
No, I'm thinking more like azimuth and temperature.
So the question is, do you have access to all the XF tags? Yes. Yep, you can specify by well-known names, or if it's a custom tag, by its actual tag number. So pretty much everything. If there was a tag you couldn't read, we'd like to know about it.
Yeah.
The other question I have is with regards to localization. How do you handle that?
Question is about localization in the sense of how to localize surveys or localize the app?
For the language.
Of the app or the surveys?
For both.
Okay, so surveys can be localized within the spec of the XLS form. You can add other language columns and it will do it within it. We localize Survey123 to 32 languages. So we already provide a localized version of the app for every language, but you can also add other languages.
So can you select from a menu, or do you have to create a separate application for each language?
Survey123 supports a drop-down menu that will let you choose the language already in the form. Any other questions?
Would you be able to overlay an image on top of the photo, like maybe a copy to show the direction that you're pointing at?
So the question is, would you be able to put overlays over the top of the image? Absolutely.
Yep.
So just like Jason did the overlay with the text, there's a whole bunch more functions internally that allow you to overlay graphic objects, other images. You could use the internal functions to do that, or you could actually write your own in addition to that.
Are you talking about inside of the camera view though too, or is that?
Yeah.
You should be able to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So both, you can pretty much customize anything, the way the camera takes a photo, what it does after it takes a photo, how the annotation works, everything. Yep. Sorry, just in the back. Sorry, first. Hey, John.
For those of us that aren't in the beta program, where do we go to sign up?
For those of you that are not in the,
Get the
hopefully, maybe if you can bring up a slide.
Let's see.
Yeah, the standard early adopter beta site, but yep. don't know if we've got a slide on that one.
Sorry, guys. I'll get to it as fast as I can.
Okay, we'll grab another question. Yep.
Are there any existing capabilities or is it a roadmap for offline capabilities for spatial queries? So not reaching out to a service, but using the local capabilities?
Okay, so the question is, do we have a roadmap for offline capabilities for spatial? We actually cover that in the roadmap session tomorrow. So there's a roadmap for all of the apps. A section covers Survey123, which details some of that stuff, definitely. There's a couple more questions, no? Yeah.
Is it possible to, would it be possible to extend the application to use other geometry types?
The question is, would it be possible to extend the app to do other geometry types? Definitely. In actual fact, internally, you've got access to the full capabilities of the system. You can make it do anything that you want. Absolutely. I mean, it all depends. It's on our roadmap as well to do that, and it's a question of whether you want to wait or whether you want to do your own version beforehand. Oh, sorry.
Would it be possible, and I'm sure the answer's yes, but how hard would it be to get Survey123 to use a tile package from Collector that's already offline?
Right, so the question is, how difficult would it be to use a tile package from another app, whether it be Collector or anything else? Question is, depends on what operating system you're on. So if you're on Windows or Android, it's pretty easy, because on those operating systems, getting access to another app's data is very simple. It's literally just the path that you need to be able, and it would be easy to modify the app to do that. iOS is much more complicated. Apps on iOS are sandboxed, so the data from one app is not easily accessed from another app. However, from iOS 11, that has been opened up so that it makes it possible for us to access data from other apps. Both apps have to have it enabled in it, and we will actually be building that functionality into Survey as well at some stage so that it gets access to other apps' data. But in the meantime, you would be able to do that to some limited fashion, but on iOS it's difficult. Not because we don't want to do it, but because the operating system made it difficult. You can open it up. Yep. Yep.
Similar to that, like a vector tile package.
Okay, so vector tile packages is something that we actually again cover in the roadmap tomorrow for the apps. That will come as we introduce the new runtime support into Survey.
So you alluded to exporting to an external SQL database in one of your slides. Are you going to cover that anytime this week?
The question is, do we cover exporting to other databases in other formats in any session? Not really. I guess the capabilities there in App Studio, in the app framework, to be able to do it. It's not necessarily on our roadmap to export to many other formats. Modifying the code, you could. I guess if it's a specific requirement, you could either talk to us about what it is that you want to go and do, modify the code, but at the moment, no specific plans to provide export to other formats from within the app.
You send post requests to like PHP or whatever.
So the question is, could you send post requests? Absolutely. Yep. So in the roadmap session again tomorrow, we cover a little bit on webhooks. So webhooks is one of the mechanisms that we're going to be providing out of the box for providing for you to do posting data to other systems, using things like Zapier or Integromat or Microsoft Flow. But if you've got a specific requirement where you want it to do something special, like talk to your own servers and your own protocols, you could actually modify our implementation of where we do webhooks and do it your own way. I think we've exhausted the questions. All right, thank you very much. Oh, hang on, we've got one more, you can't leave.
On one of the additional slides, you referenced something called XForm.
Okay, so, yeah. You would like to know what that is? Okay, so on our slide, you would have seen we refer to XLS form as the format that we use in spreadsheets. So X form is an open standard that defines how forms are described in XML. And that's actually the internal format that Survey123 uses. You can find all the specs online for that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.